Alright, so we're going to work on this MacBook Air motherboard that seems to not be turning on. And let me show you how we're going to fix this board today so that we get fan spin. Alright, so today we're going to get started on an 820-00165 board. This board goes into the MacBook Air from 2015 to 2018. And let's try and figure out what's wrong with this MacBook. Right, so let's plug in our power adapter and see what we get. So when I plug in this power adapter, we get a green light on the charger, which means that our PP3V42 must be present, because PP3V42 powers this chip, which is called the System Management Controller, which is going to communicate with my charger and say, "Charger on the MacBook, turn on the light." Well, next what we're going to do is we're going to measure the other power rails, because as you can see, unlike this fan, which is spinning, this fan is not. So I'm going to open up a schematic for an 820-00165, and let's go through our power rails. So the first thing we have to do is see if we're all aboard our PP bus, because the first power rail on this that we're going to have to check, since we already have PP3V42, is our PP bus. This can be seen over here on the power rails page. First rail up here, PP bus, and it needs to be G3 hot, which is 8.6 volts. We can find PP bus G3 hot right over here on the PP bus G3 hot fuse, F7140. But let's check what voltage we get on the PP bus fuse. We're going to turn on Paul Daniels' execrable multimeter software, get it to show up on the screen. We're going to get it to show up on the screen. We're going to get it to put our black probe on ground, get our red probe right over here on the fuse, and we get 8 volts. Wait, no we don't. We get 0 volts. We get 0.0, and on the other side of the fuse, we get 8.6 volts. My God. An Apple machine with a blown fuse. Oh, no, what, Camille? That's why you didn't get this one. You measured PP bus G3 hot on the fuse.
Yeah.
But you didn't check that it was there on the other side of the fuse because you assumed that it's a MacBook and fuses don't blow on MacBooks.
Don't blow on MacBooks, yeah.
Paul, a fuse blew on a MacBook.
PP bus, right?
Yeah. A fuse blew on a MacBook.
That's the only one that works.
That's the
only one that works.
Yeah, that's the only fuse that actually blows.
Well, I just assumed none of them work.
No, that's the only
Okay.
one that works.
Alright, fair. Well, you got an easy
Well, imagine that. Yeah, so this is the fuse between the circuit that creates our PP bus G3 hot and the system that's going to be powered off of PP bus G3 hot. Typically, a fuse is going to blow because of a short circuit. So let's see if we got a short circuit. Other side that's not getting any voltage. February 15th, 1:36 p.m., 2009. A fuse in an Apple product did its job.
I still can't believe that.
It seems that we have a 0.4 ohm short to ground on the other side of the fuse. Now that is going to be a short circuit to ground on our PP bus. Let's see if we can find out what may be shorting our PP bus. Typically I would inject voltage into the board to find this short, but we may be able to find it just by using our eyes and a really expensive microscope that I affiliate link on store.rossmanngroup.com or in the links in the video description down below. Don't delay, buy Amscope today. And with that, our in-video shilling is done, and we are going to look through the board with a microscope and see if the microscope allows me to find out what may be short-circuited, or if anything looks funny. So I'm going to move along this board, and I want you all to tell me when you see something that looks funny if you do, because I may miss it. All we're seeing here are a couple of pubes. Nothing out of the ordinary on this Apple MacBook. Hello, little JTAG. Here we are. What's this? What do we see here? Look at that. That's a little solder ball. Let's see what the schematic says that is. Oh, look. My PP bus is shorted too, says Jeff. I hope you get that looked at. Having a short PP bus is going to get you in trouble. This is a buck converter, and it's using PP bus S5HS computing ISETs. So if we follow that back, that goes to R5450, and R5450 is a current sensing resistor, where PP bus G3 hot is going to become PP bus S5 high-side computing ISETs. So that is technically PP bus G3 hot. This is a cap along PP bus G3 hot over here, and it has this little solder ball by it. High-powered microscope that you can check out at the affiliate link below. Don't delay, buy today. And that little solder ball could have come from anything in this area. See that? I'm going to try removing this cap and see if that fixes my problem. That would be really cool if just removing the capacitor fixes my problem. Let's see if our short circuit is still there. That was not the short. Perhaps it was one of the capacitors next to it that was the short. Perhaps Lewis should have just found the thermal camera after all. Okay, I was close. So it wasn't the cap I thought it was either the cap to the left of it or the right of it. Since the solder ball was sitting over here, there was an equal chance that it could be this one or this one. So it was this one. So we're going to have to replace those caps, and after we replace those caps, we're also going to have to replace a fuse. Solder balls don't mean anything. They're a byproduct of the solder paste free flow manufacturing process. How many times do you find solder balls next to perfectly fine components as tubes and stuff? Says the person that just watched me find a short circuit in less than 10 minutes without a thermal cam. So my solder ball was over here, and my shorted capacitor was over here. And now it's not shorted after I removed it. That's a total coincidence, right? It's a total coincidence that the only solder ball that you could see on this board is right next to the capacitor that had a short circuit to ground. Jolly me! Lucky coincidence that just so happens to happen a couple of times a day for the past few years. Random. Alright, so we're just going to replace that capacitor that just so happened to coincidentally be right next to the solder ball that totally had nothing to do with the fact that it was shorted to ground, because shorted components never shoot out solder balls. No, it is not true, Pancake Sir. Using hot tweezers to remove ridiculously large capacitors is not something I think is efficient. Maybe it's efficient to remove like a 0201, but it's not efficient on this. I'm just going to wick the pads. Jessa Jones, are you watching? You watching me wick? You watching that? Yeah, look at that wick. Look at that goot wick. Wick those pads. Wick those pads. Paul, do you wick your pads?
Every fucking one.
What about when you're working on an iPhone?
Every pad gets
iPhone
wicked.
audio IC.
Wick.
iPhone PMIC.
Wick.
Because Paul likes reballing NANDs and CPUs all day. Paul, show everybody your shirt. Show everybody the shirt that you're brave enough to walk around with in New York City in 2019 climate.
Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs.
You realize that if you were to do customer service in this shirt, you would get me pitchforked, right?
I have my new lab coat here. I put my lab coat on.
Without the lab coat, if you go up to help a customer, you will get pitchforked. Just saying.
I'm proud that I was on the state rifle team.
And I'm proud to not have an angry mob outside of my store, which is not going to happen now.
Should I wear my NRA shirt tomorrow?
Okay, you can wear your NRA shirt in exchange. How about this? Let's make a deal. You can do customer service in your NRA shirt. You're replacing this.
Get rid of that. Get rid of that.
No, I think this is a fair fucking deal. You want there to be a picket line in front of the store? You want this place to become a Twitter hashtag for hate speech? Then you're gonna replace CPUs. No. What are you? Stop that. What are you, a fucking camel? Why are you eating the CPU? Stop that.
It's lead free.
It is lead-free. Continue. I think Paul is passive-aggressively protesting his queue and the randomness of it by trying to get me picket lined.
I don't know what you could be talking about.
I do a video on a bunch of random border pairs that you don't believe are random, even though they were. The next day, you show up with a shirt that is going to get me...
I have more.
You want me to get hit in the back of the head with a bike lock, don't
I
you?
have more.
You may have a gun. I don't. All I have is a buffet. Thoughts on Allstate entering the iPhone repair business? They did it by buying iCracked. I think that's kind of lame. I never really liked iCracked. iCracked seemed like one of those... It was one of those companies where, you know, let's just keep getting investment rather than making profits. I remember there was this one time they were bragging, iTech's made this much money this year. And they were talking about how great it is to become an iTech if you work for iCrack. This is a great idea. So what I did is I decided, all right, how many iTechs are there? How much money did you brag about? And I have a video on this from a long time ago. And the dollar amount came out to $6,000 a year that iTechs made. We're not even talking about net profit. We're talking like gross. It was something like $6,000 a year. And they were bragging about their revenue. And this is one of the things that drives me nuts with all these startups that get started from venture capital that don't focus on profit, that come out with these PRs about all the amazing shit that they're doing. Making, you know, saying that the people that work for your company make $6,000 a year does not impress me. It just doesn't. And it says something to me when the head of a company is okay with releasing a press release bragging about the fact that when you divide the amount of people working for the company by the amount that they made, that it comes out to $6,000 a year. I also hold beef with them because in 2012, for 2 months, I was unable to get screens from Jack Telecom because iCrack placed a stupidly large order. I don't know. It just seems like one of those business models where I'm going to design an app, then I'm going to force the people to buy parts through me, then I'm going to become a multi-millionaire off of venture capital investments, and then before the business goes bust, I'm going to convince some jackass to buy it for 10 times what it's actually worth. I'm not impressed by those companies. I'm really not.
I think you're right.
Or maybe I'm just jealous because the guy who started the company is a multimillionaire, whereas I have a cat that can't even clean its own asshole. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. You know. Keep in mind, maybe I'm just a salty asshole.
Maybe you're just bitter.
I guess maybe I'm just a bitter cunt. Maybe I'm just being a bitter cunt is all.
Check this out.
I don't know.
You're right.
Oh, was C7771?
Yep, that's
beautiful.
it.
The other thing that kills me with the iCracks is, and what drives me nuts with all of these business models in general, you're going to buy your own tools. You're doing a lot of your own advertising. You know, whether or not you get good reviews in your locale is dependent on your work alone. So you're doing a lot of the work that you would be doing if you were starting a small business. But the problem is that you're not starting a small business. You're starting an iCracked. So my thing it would be, why, instead of becoming an iCracked, why don't you just become a TCRS Circuit or a PLD or an iPad Rehab or a Rossmann Group? Why do you want to attach all of your work and your hustle to somebody else's company when you're doing all the work of business development, of a lot of the work of client acquisition and all that shit? Because I could understand if they said, if you work for iCracked, you get $30,000 or $60,000 or $90,000. Even if it was like fucking $20,000 a year, they would be saying you get a minimum of this much money. You are an employee and you are working for iCracked, building our brand. But you're not. You are a contractor and you are building somebody else's brand. You're a contractor, but you're not getting paid that stupidly high rate that you would expect to get paid as a contractor who's building somebody else's business. It's like you're getting paid like an employee, but you're taking the risks of a business owner. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're going to buy your own tools, buy your own parts, bless you. You're going to buy your own tools, buy your own parts, promote your own business, build your own fucking reputation. Do that as you. Don't do that to build somebody else's brand. Again, if you're building somebody else's brand, but you're being compensated at $40,000, at $50,000, at $60,000 or $70,000 a year, $80,000, whatever, I can understand it. But the idea that your salary is going to be entirely dependent, for the most part, on your hustle, and maybe our app will send you a couple of people, screw that. And what if you have competing iTechs in one area? This is another part. If you have multiple iTechs in a certain area, then the app may be your client acquisition process, which is the most valuable part of any business, which is the part that you're putting in all the work for. That app, after you put 4 years of work in, somebody else becomes an iTech in your area, and that app's sending them to somebody else? Like, no. Control your client acquisition process. So it just kind of follows this startup it seems to follow the startup mentality that I'm not the biggest fan of, which is that it's like with Uber, we are going to expect what we would get out of an employee, but oh yeah, you're buying your own car. And oh yeah, you're not getting these types of benefits. And oh yeah, you're not getting a minimum guaranteed salary. But we expect you to be available all the time. It's like this end run around being an employer that so many Silicon Valley companies seem to be excited about. We don't want the workman's comp and all the other crap that you have to deal with as an employer. We don't want to deal with the fact that you're going to want a minimum guaranteed salary regardless of whether we're able to generate enough business for you. We don't want to deal with that. But we want all the benefits of having you as a contractor. It's like, no. I would suggest that anybody who's looking at starting that stuff up, because that's the thing, you're paying, you're paying to be a part of, let's say, the iCrack brand. You have to pay for a startup kit and all this stuff. And if we're talking about, if we're talking about a lot of other businesses, maybe that makes sense. But one of the great parts about this business is that there's a very low cost barrier to entry. And so, unless you're being paid a good amount of money, and it is a minimum guaranteed money, and somebody else has already done all the work of client acquisition and building up the reputation for you, why not do that work to build your own brand that won't simply go away if another company decides, they're out of business or they got bought by somebody or the app is going to refer people to somebody else. That's my thought on it. I would like to see, and it's not about being against large businesses. I have nothing against some multi-billion-dollar company entering the fray. Not that iCracked isn't a multi-billion-dollar company. I have no problem with them entering the fray if they are hiring people and treating them like hired people. But this whole thing where you're kind of a contractor, but you're kind of an employee, but we're going to treat you like... I don't like that shit at all. I also question the profitability of the model and how sustainable it would be without consistent venture capital. Because, in the beginning, I would see all this talk about this company got this much in funding, and then they got this much in funding again, and then they got this much in funding again. But okay, cool, you got... But that's not what I care about. I want to see these companies talking about net profit, not gross revenue, not how much money you were able to borrow. What did you actually create? Because if you don't have a net profit, you didn't actually create anything. You took. You were a net drain. I think if you don't have a net profit, you've been a drain. And there's a lot of companies nowadays that are following that model of bragging about the wrong things, like we got this much investment or we made this much in gross. I don't care about that. I'm never going to forget that. I'm never going to forget that we did X in sales, and all it took was Googling the amount of people who were technicians and then dividing the amount of money that the company made in sales by the amount of technicians they had for me to come up with the figure that they were actually bragging that when you average it out, $6,000 a year. Fuck. I'd almost rather work at CSAT. I see some people have multiple irons, not just regular and micro. Is using 2 irons good for removing or maybe soldering components any good? I've never had more than 2 irons. I'm replacing a fuse.
Something that's never done around
Die, fuse, die. Burn.
first fuse?
Hmm?
This is your first fuse this year?
I think so. This is a donor board that has a fuse on it.
Oh man.
Thanks for the free education, great content, and awesome beginner's guide. Hope this affords you a fofo. What's a fofo?
What? That doesn't sound kosher.
This is a donor board, but what do you think the chances are that that fuse is good?
It works. I bet you it works. The fuse didn't blow. Nah.
I fucking blew. Wait.
No,
Well, look at the
look.
meter. Wait, the screen is not giving me the meter. Paul Daniels, what the fuck is up with your software, man?
Well, fine,
Let's
it's still
observe this.
working.
Look at this. So when I measure the fuse, get this thing in a view, I'm going to expose to the world what Paul Daniels' software is really like. Look at this.
Before?
It says 0.3 on the meter in open line on the screen.
Wait. Nope.
Paul. Would it kill you to make software that works for a change? Price. All the good money that we pay for this this is on another board. Look at this. So Paul, is this a good fuse or a bad fuse?
That's a good fuse.
Look at this.
That's a good fuse?
Look at the board.
That's a good fucking fuse.
Look at the fucking board.
The one
Look
side's
at it.
a little melty, but
Look at it. What?
So that's an ultra good fuse. That one will never blow out.
I should put this fuse on there. Yeah, this is a MacBook.
Fuse blew.
Yeah. Look, this is the standard Mac. This is a standard PP Bus G3 Hot. This is a standard quality Apple fuse right here. This is what I come to expect from Apple. Look at that. Look at that beautiful continuity. That's a fuse. What if my other fuse was good, but Paul Daniels' shit software said it wasn't? Because I was looking at the screen instead of the meter, and I just replaced it for nothing.
Oh man.
Because I've been reading
It's still there. Test it.
Yeah, I've been reading the readings off of the screen instead of reading them off of the multimeter this whole time, because I trusted Paul Daniels. What if he's doing this? What if he's like sitting at home and manipulating the results of the software?
He has an on and off button at home.
Paul, I demand the source code to this. He could be actually watching the stream and manipulating this shit to make. Look, he thinks he's missing PM Sleep S4L, but it's actually pulsing. He could totally be doing that, because to be streaming, I have to be online, and if I'm online, then he can.
Then he has control.
Yeah, what if it's like some sort of team viewer thing into the software? Don't trust Paul Daniels. Someone check Paul Daniels' GitHub and see how much of that crap is actually spyware. Can you imagine what ZXW tool is doing? Always wary of chips that have green next to them and this wet stuff on the top. I'm gonna just replace the clock chip before finishing this board off. It's gonna add a little bit of flux over there, tiny bit, small amount. We've got to turn this spyware into a double agent and use it to spy on Paul Daniels. Get all of his secrets. Alright, get ourselves a new clock chip. By the way, if you need a new clock chip, you can find these on store.rossmanngroup.com.
Yeah, I could, but she like it like this.
Look,
For
show
Sophia.
him, show him.
For,
Better than Kevin.
That's not saying much.
it's special for Sophia, you know.
That's adorable.
Better than Kevin. Still better than Kevin.
That's an adorable tricycle.
That's better than Kevin.
She'll be ready for a buffang in no time.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
and you see today.
Works.
Aw.
So something with
And she put her step like this and
She's adorable.
You see?
Yeah, I see it.
Today we start
Oh.
go to the
She's getting the idea of
mom,
it?
for grandma, yeah. And I took troll.
Uh-huh.
She
She wanted to stop somewhere?
she took and that's it.
She wanted to pedal herself.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
yes,
awesome.
It's first time, you know.
Wow.
today in the
That was the first time?
Yes.
Oh.
So I
How old is she?
April 2.
Wow. She's 2 already?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's time quick, you know.
Yeah. Next year she'll be fixing boards.
Yes.
better than Alex, that's for sure.
Better than Alex. Definitely rides a bike better than Kevin. All right, I got myself a clock chip. Do you repair Mad Catz controllers for the Sega 32X? Absolutely. Send it to 186 First Avenue, Rossmann Repair Group. Attention, Paul, New York, 10009. Paul S. will happily fix your Mad Catz Sega controller. Look, he has a remote right in his hand right now. And the only reason that remote works is because it was fixed by Paul S. I can tell them apart because they clearly look different. They have a different facial structure. Blackberry's eyes always look like she's a little high. And if you say her name, it's like she always has those eyes that kind of make her look like she's a little... And they have different faces. Mr. Clinton typically has his fangs out, whereas Blackberry keeps them in. Blackberry wraps her tail around her paws. Mr. Clinton doesn't because Blackberry is a lady and Mr. Clinton is not. Mr. Clinton is 24 pounds and Blackberry is 9 pounds. So there is a difference there. They're totally different cats. They look entirely different. There's no resemblance between Blackberry and Clinton. Yeah, so but definitely send us the Mad Catz controller for the Sega 32X. Hi, already put the address in the chat for you to send it to. Olga has a baby. Can we meet the baby sometimes? Yes, she does. She has an adorable kid. Her name is Sophia. Olga's the best. She's the one that I trust to reassemble everything. She'll figure out if I screwed something up. She does an excellent job of testing everything. She cleans the machines before giving it back to the customer. If a machine smells funny, she'll clean it and get rid of the smell. It's like, and the beautiful thing about Olga, I don't ask her to do any of this. I never asked her. She just started doing it automatically because she figured that she should do it because that would be a good job. Because that would mean doing a good job. I'm a lucky dude. I got top tier quality people working for me. Whether it's Olga for the machine reassembly or it's Paul for the Sega Mad Catz 32X remote control repair, we got the best. Alright, so we're going to see if this MacBook works and turns on again. As you can see, we have fan spin, and fan spin means that we are done. That is a perfectly working MacBook, and if you want to learn more, feel free to check us out all the other videos. We have them categorized and classified on boards.rossmanngroup.com. That's boards.rossmanngroup.com, where you can find every single one of our videos classified by both problem type and board model number. You can see them in higher quality because Vimeo has higher bit rates, and above all, it's a website that'll be available even if YouTube decides to do something stupid and randomly remove my channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, I hope you learned something.
After the meal. Rossmann Group, how can I help you?
Yeah, I wanted to call and let you know that I am incredibly, intensely aggravated that I just got my computer back with a label on it that was near impossible to remove. So I'm not sure how that became a practice there, because I've sent my computer to you numerous times before and it's never come back with a sticker on it that it took me 25 minutes in Gugon to remove. But I wanted to let you know that's a disgusting practice of complete disrespect for your customers. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Sure. Okay. If you want to talk about it, I can talk if you'd like.